I'm back after a much needed detox from social media and also a whole lot of travel, which is why I've probably not been able to post a lot of videos for you guys. But starting right now, we are going to get back to the whole routine of putting out some more information with regard to nutrition. And today I'm discussing something called as accelerated fat loss. Now, this is not really a worldwide concept or any rocket science. It's just basically putting yourself through a quick short period of a deficit or short periods of a deficit followed by some fasting and different types of patterns that you can use only for a short period of time. Which also means that this is not what I recommend as a lifestyle change, and this is not what I recommend for beginners, because beginners are too fresh and just about getting started with a healthy nutrition plan. So it becomes very hard for them to follow through something super extreme, and that's not what you want to do when you're just about adapting. Now, the whole reason for me to actually get onto this for just 10-12 days is because I have been working out, but there was a period approximately 2 weeks ago when I had a lot of work travel and I wasn't able to work out. I was eating all right, but not the right amount of calories, especially my protein, when I was traveling. And that's not because of my travel, that's just because of me being in very difficult work situations and not having the time to even think about eating. But again, I know, being a nutritionist, that it's constantly on my mind that I have to eat right and I have to ensure that I'm not losing muscle. So a little bit of protein powder whenever I could is what I was sticking to, and of course all the meats and eggs. But having said that, what happens is when you are off the wagon and you're not able to follow something or your regular lifestyle for about 2-3 weeks, you don't really end up feeling like fat or feel like you've gained weight. It's not like my weight has changed. It's not like my body composition is completely off, but there is a little bit of that slight flabby, little bit of pinch, in and around your body. And this little bit of fat settles in different places for different people, right? For me, it's a little bit on maybe my lower belly, a little bit maybe on my back. For most women, it would be the lower belly, or rather for most people, it would be the lower belly. For men also, it is mostly the abdominal area. It is your stomach that starts coming out if you have not been looking at your training and your nutrition. So what I'm talking about today is just switching up a notch for a short period of time to get rid of that little bit of chubbiness around, which has settled in due to travel or due to just not doing your thing on a regular basis. Now, this largely also depends on the kind of training program you're on, whether you're an intermediate to an advanced athlete, which I've already mentioned, and also kind of focuses on what type of food or the type of meal plans you have been following in the past, right? Now, having said that, let's take, for example, somebody who is doing high intensity training or high volume training or lifting heavy. If you are getting into accelerated fat loss for between, let's say, 10 to 12 days or for 14 days, 2 weeks, you have to ensure that you're not taking your sets to failure, right? You have to ensure that if you are creating a huge deficit, then your training is also aligned with that deficit. Because if you don't do that and you're not focusing on the calories that you're supposed to eat if you're training heavy, then your recovery and your repair process really gets hampered. Now, if I can break down accelerated fat loss into two simple, let's say, techniques or categories, they're basically both either combinations of ketogenic diets and fasting, or it is a combination of just reducing your calories, mostly your carb calories, and also fasting together at the same time, right? So if I'm taking the first concept in place, which is keto and fasting together, we're basically looking at somebody who has done keto or is adapted to keto in some way, is using fats as fuel. I think all of us have already know that we should be using fats as fuel, whether you're on keto or not, because it proves to be a primary, better source as a primary for the body. And having said that, this doesn't mean that you're not eating carbs at all, right? In a general scenario, you're still eating carbs, but you're obviously emphasizing more on fats and also on protein for muscle synthesis and to ensure that you're getting sustainable energy. So for somebody who's very new to the whole concept of keto and fasting, it is not advisable that you get up one morning and you get onto ketosis and then you just switch to fasting. This will help you achieve maybe a few kgs down, but that's not what we're looking at. We're not looking at rapid fat loss because we don't want to work hard. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at getting into accelerated fat loss only for a very short period of time to get rid of that little bit of extra flab that's there. This is not for those who need to lose 5 to 8 to 10 kgs. This is just for those who want to probably drop a kg, may not want to drop a kg, but just get rid of that slight bloating and flabbiness that has occurred due to whatever reason. So if you aren't on keto or haven't been on keto or do not know the concept of keto, then waking up one morning, getting into keto and then start fasting is something that I would not advise, because then you're going on a very extreme tangent and it will get very difficult for your body to adapt. However, if you have experimented with keto before, then it is probably advisable that you start keto, get onto keto for maybe the first week, and second week you just fast on alternate days, not even every day. You don't even require fasting on a daily basis, right? So what happens with this is, when you are on ketosis, your body produces a large volume of ketones, which is nothing but broken down body fat. And it takes usually 5 to 7 days for you to get into the process of ketosis, for your body to start producing ketones. And if you're looking at a short time, you're looking at 1 week of keto and the alternate week of intermittent fasting and keto. So even in the second week, you're not going to be eating those many carbs, right? And then third week onwards, you bring in a little bit of carbs, pre and post your workout maybe. And then you kind of start, increasing your carbs in week 3, 4, 5 or however, and get back to your normal eating pattern. Now, if you are in a situation where you think that, you need still, if you want to still lift a little bit heavy and you need that one dose of carbs just before your workout or a little bit after your workout, you can still do that. It doesn't matter then if you're on ketosis or not, because what you're doing in the other option where you're not on ketosis is basically reducing your calories and mostly your carbs and doing without them for major part of the week, right? So for those who want to try this out, what you ideally need to do is you start week 1 with reducing carbs to a very minimal quantity. Probably just do pre-workout a little bit of carbs and post-workout a little bit of carbs, and eat within whatever time you want for that 1 week, and try and avoid carbs at other times of the day. And then in week 2, what you do is you drop carbs even more. You stop the carbs for a week. If you still feel that no, my training is demanding the little bit of carb, then that's fine. You can do it, can consume the carbs. And then in week 2, you basically get onto intermittent. You can also do a combination of still eating a little bit of carbs on a regular basis and start intermittent from day 1, which means you start with maybe a pattern of eating from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then in week 2, you can go on to the pattern of eating from, eating within 8 hours and fasting for 16 hours. So a lot of patterns that you can really explore. It's basically just you cutting down your calories and mainly reducing carbs for a short period of time to help your body accelerate that fat loss. Because when your insulin is moderate, and I'm not saying that only carbs spikes your insulin. Yes, carbs spikes your insulin much more than any other nutrient. But when your insulin is moderate, then your body also produces other hormones that regulate or accelerate this fat loss. Now, as a lifestyle, you can't keep cutting out carbs at all times, right? The principle of you being in a deficit and ensuring you're burning more by moving more and training hard is what you need to follow as a lifestyle, because that is sustainable. But it's okay to do something which is a little more stressful and hectic for about a week to 10 days, 12 days, 14 days. And then you get back to your regular eating habits. Now, when I look at training programs with regard to this whole accelerated fat loss situation, anybody who is doing high intensity or high volume training needs to not take their sets to failure, like I mentioned before. Even if you're doing high intensity cardio, you still shouldn't be taking yourself to the last bit, because again, you're not fueling yourself right to be able to do that kind of workout. I'll give you my own example. So I am lifting very heavy currently, and I am also on accelerated fat loss. And the only reason why I'm able to manage my nutrition along with me lifting heavy is because I have been adapted to fat for years now. So my energy levels are always on the high. However, at this point, what I am focusing on is increasing my protein intake. So I have dropped my carbs, but I have increased my protein intake, and I'm still eating fats. I am still fasting, which basically ensures that my muscles are where they are, my muscles are still growing, and then I can still correspond to lifting a decent amount. Now, in my first week of accelerated fat loss, I didn't go all out. When I say when I say I didn't go all out, it means I still was taking my sets to failure, but I was not lifting that heavy because I didn't want too much of muscle breakdown. In week 2, even though I was lifting heavy, I had increased my protein intake, and I ensured that on some days when my training was really hard, I was doing like a toast and peanut butter or a cheese cube pre-workout, and post my workout I was again doing maybe mostly I work out in the afternoon, so at lunch I was still doing a little bit of rice with a lot of protein and protein shake. On some days I didn't do the rice. I probably did just like a chicken dish with veggies, or just like a little bit of salad and paneer or something like that. And if I were to divide how many days I let go of carbs, it probably will be like a week. A week is when I stopped eating carbs completely, and then kind of brought it back in small bursts, day in, day out. So overall, the concept of accelerated fat loss, like I have mentioned before, is nothing but dumping your calories down, being in a deficit for a short period of time. And the deficit is going to be a large deficit. It will be a 1200, 1300 calorie diet, not 1000, because then you can't function. You just still need that little bit of protein going. It could also be 1500 for some, those who are burning a lot of calories. You don't want to go into a very, very large deficit also, but you're dropping your calories a lot. So again, this is, this whole how many calories you're burning can only be judged, unfortunately, by a watch. But overall, if you calculate manually, then at least for me, I would be burning somewhere about 2000 to 2500, rather 2400 calories on a regular basis, if I am good with my steps, if I am worked out, and if I have walked around the house and stayed active, or just taken a walk and things like that. So then I am burning a good amount of calories. And in that case, then I'm eating, when I'm on accelerated, I'm eating about 1200 to 1500, right? So based on how much you're burning, you need to understand that your deficit should be probably 500-600 calories, nothing below that. Now, if you're burning only 1500 calories, you should not be dropping down to 1000 calories, below 1000 calories to consume. So then do more steps, get in that light cardio post your workout, and ensure that you're burning more so that you're able to eat the bare minimum that your body requires for survival. Any questions, any thoughts? If somebody wants to try it out, please let me know. I am doing it myself, and I hopefully will end it this week and get back to it a few weeks later. But if you have any questions or doubts, or you want to know more about this, then do send us a message.